Psalm 46:10, another refrigerator verse. You probably have mostly heard it as be still and know that I am God. My favorite translation of that is the New American Standard. And it says this: cease striving and know that I'm God. I've shared this before, but Lisa and I, when I took the job up in Maryland at the church up there, I left 3 months early while the kids finished school, and I went to work up there, and part of my job was to find a house. And so I looked, but if you know me, I'm kind of a procrastinator, and I put things off to the side, and about a week or two before Lisa and the kids were supposed to come up there, I decided one day I couldn't find a house to rent, so I went around to all the houses that were for sale, and I wrote a note and said, I'm a new pastor with a family moving into town. Would you be willing to rent your house? And I did that to about 100 houses. And then Lisa called me, and of course Lisa she's the one that always keeps me in line and likes to get things done, and she asked me if I'd found a house yet, and this was like 2 weeks before they're coming, right? You know, and it does take a little while to get into a home and all that, and I said, no, honey, I haven't found one yet, but I did this, and I just went and put all these notes on people's doors, and in my mind I had all this stuff that I was doing, and all she knew that we were 2 weeks away from living there, and we didn't have a house, so she kind of chewed me out, and from a long way off, she was down here, and I was up in Maryland, and I was sleeping in somebody's basement, and I was by myself, and I was already miserable by myself. I would go to Taco Bell every night and get the $2 tacos, and that was my meal. And I'd sit there and watch families come in and sob on my tacos, wishing that my kids were there. And so, you know, I'm going through all this stuff, and Lisa chews me out, and I go lay down in bed, and all of a sudden I'm going, God, I have made a huge mistake. I wasn't supposed to come here. And if you knew my story about how God sent us there, it's obvious God sent us there. And so I'm laying there in bed, and I'm just struggling, and somebody had given me a New American Standard Bible. That wasn't I read the NIV back then. That's what I studied. And I remember I opened it up, and I just opened it up. I kind of cried out, God, would you just talk to me? Would you just let me know, what's supposed to happen? I've let my wife down. I just started moaning and groaning to God, and I opened it up to Psalm 46:10, not on purpose. And it said, cease striving and know that I'm God. And I took that to heart. And I said, okay, God, you brought me here. You will find me a house. So I laid down and went to sleep and had a good night's sleep. Well, the next morning I got up early and I rushed straight to the office. And what had happened was I had printed out all these houses that were for sale, and I had them spread out across my desk. And I remember I walked in, and Lisa had been there like a month before, and we had driven by this house, and she said, that would really be a cool house to have. And it was a house that was for sale, and we were looking for one to rent, but it was one I had put the note on. So I'm feeling better because I had given it up to God the night before, and I'm going to stop striving, and God's going to show me. And I walk in, and the church directory is open, and the picture of that house that Lisa wanted was sitting beside it. Now, I hadn't been really looking at it. I mean, I had just gone out. I mean, I probably had 100. And it's laying there, and it looks beside it, and the church directory's open. And what was that address that we lived at? Wasn't it? It was Court. So I looked down, and one of our church, I look, and I said, whatever that address was, that's the house that Lisa really wanted. And I looked at our church directory, and it was open to a church member that lived on Court, right next door to this house. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning, so I waited till about 6:45 and called the guy. I called him, and I said, hey, this is Royal. You know what, there's a house right next to you that's for sale, and my wife really likes that. You think they would rent that to me? And the guy said, Well, I don't know. It's been for sale a long time. You can give it a try. I'll tell them that you're interested. And so the lady called me a couple hours later, and she said, yeah, I got your notice on the door, and I've been thinking about it. And I called my husband, and he's already moved up to Virginia, and I think we would be interested in renting that house. Lisa's house. The house. Are y'all getting this? I walked in, it's laid open to the church directory. The picture of the house that Lisa loves is right there. And all of a sudden, I became a hero. No. All of a sudden, God was pretty awesome. And you see what I'm saying? And I can't guarantee that kind of stuff's going to happen all the time. But I can tell you this. There is a peace that comes when you cease striving and you realize that God's in charge. And things can happen that you never would expect. And I've got a verse to close with here, Matthew 11, 28 through 30. Then Jesus said, come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is what? Light. Are you getting this? This isn't saying that I'm a mean, strict God that expects all kinds of things, and you need to be jumping through hoops, and you need to be working real hard, and you need to be praying 5 times a day, and you need to be doing all of these things so that one day you can possibly earn your way to heaven. What it's saying is, look, if you will come to me, I will give you rest. All that stuff that's stressing you out, all that stuff that seems very important to you, that's not really important. I'm important, Jesus says. And if you will come to me, I will help you carry that load. Not only will I help you, I will take that load on my shoulders and give you peace. A peace that passes all understanding.